Hello and welcome to this very special edition of the Irish Wrestling Podcast. My name is Mark O'Brien, and today I've been joined by somebody incredibly special, somebody incredibly topical. He's done a huge amount in a very, very short space of time across a number of different avenues, across European indie scene, across NXT UK, across WWE NXT. I'm joined by the one and the only Mr. Oro Mensah. Oro, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you for having me.
No, no worries at all. Listen, you're somebody I've been absolutely fascinated with for a long, long time since I first kind of saw you pop up on the scene in NXT UK a number of years ago during the height of COVID. Um, for those of you in this part of the world who might not be as familiar with your backstory, a lot of times when you watch American television, it doesn't necessarily give you the depth of somebody's journey or what their actual backstory is. A lot of people in especially American television wrestling can feel like they're sometimes trying to fulfill a role, but you've got an incredible backstory. Please correct me if I'm wrong on this now, by the way. You were born in Lagos, Nigeria. You were raised in Zurich, Switzerland. You've got a Ghanaian heritage as well. You came through the European indie scene. For those of us who love European independent wrestling, you're a mainstay of WXW for a while before being signed to NXT UK. For those of us in this part of the world, have I missed anything? Is there any other big milestones I've maybe
No,
missed out in that
that was
previous?
pretty good. That was pretty good. That you had everything like checked off that I was already thinking about. So that's perfect.
Perfect. No worries, no worries. Listen, I mean, so for somebody with such a diverse background, like so many different influences, like even like culturally, like I can imagine like a Swiss background is probably quite diverse to what a Nigerian background would be. Just culturally, quite a
Right.
different dynamic as well. So, what was that like? What was that? How did that, I suppose, melting pot of cultures and atmospheres fuel your own wrestling passion growing up?
That's a really good. I think like the my Ghanaian or African side, whichever you want to call it, kind of gave me like the joyfulness to life and just want to try and experiment stuff. You know what I mean? So just like looking forward to doing stuff and just being out there, outgoing. Because I think like lots of African people or Ghanaian people are really outgoing. They don't really care if they're in the public eye and how they look like. You know what I mean? And I think my Swiss side kind of gave me like that. The organization part of the whole business, you know what I mean? Just like being focused and like just working on your goals, keeping a straight head. I think that's when like the two worlds are smashed together and that made me, you know what I mean?
Perfect. No, like, again, that seems like the perfect, almost a perfect mixture, having that kind of gregarious, outgoing personality, but also having the kind of the tunnel vision, the focus, kind of chase after what you're looking for.
Exactly.
But you had like you've been wrestling as far as I'm aware since about 2012. Within the European wrestling scene, it might have been slightly further back down
Yeah.
the track. But you
12
debuted
and
as
10.
Mr. Exotic Exotic. So
Oh.
I imagine that's obviously a very Swiss personality. So you
Yeah.
so you're a huge, you obviously made a big mainstay for yourself, a big name for yourself across the European wrestling scene. So for those of us in this part of the world who came across you as Oro Mensah, how does Mr. Exotic Exotic differ from you in real life?
It's so far away because I actually hated that name and I was hated whatever it was. Just because it
Okay.
sounded so stupid. And I was like, how old was I? I think like 18 or 20 or something, around that age, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was actually like given to me by Alex Wright back
Okay.
then. Yeah. So that's why I mean it kind of made me like well known, I would say in the German scene or people were talking about it because it was just so name that was out there, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially back then where you needed more like a crazier name than the more slightly normal name that we see this day and age, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think back then I was just like kid who was trying to make a name for himself, just trying to be as outgoing, as bigger than life, or whatever you want to call it, out as crazy as possible. So I just needed something that where people just catch their eye, catch their ear, whatever,
Yeah.
like just to be noticed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if Alex Wright is coming to you with that thing, with that type of name, you're not going to say no, particularly those of us in the European scene who understand who he is and what he means to people, particularly in that kind of Midland Europe area as well. But listen, you obviously did stand out. You had a number of different successes from winning SWE championships, from SCW tag team titles then, but later on then in 2019, you joined WWE as
Yes.
Alex Carter. So how was that? I suppose that transition from the European wrestling scene to over getting signed, and suddenly you're in the machine of WWE, but you're also possibly having to transfer yourself over to America, but you're also still wrestling in the UK.
It was wild because it all happened pretty quick, right?
Mm,
I remember I was like I got this email by WXW saying they want to do like a pre-tryout kind of thing, like just to check people out. So I went and did that real quick. I got the email and 2, 3 days later, I was already in the plane and in the hotel doing the tryout. And then at that tryout, actually, because it was like a closed door kind of private kind of thing, um, back then somebody from the office, from the WWE office, actually told me, okay, there's going to be a tryout in Germany. That's going to
Okay.
be a thing. And you're going to be one of the first guys we want to have at the tryout. So then I was already like, oh, sick, because I remember people had to apply and stuff like that. But I did that pre-tryout, and he already basically told me, yeah, I was just there to get like the confirmation I'll be at the tryout. So that was cool. And then also like like and it just made me feel like accomplished. Okay, it's sick. They know who I am and everything that I was hearing. Then I did the tryout in Germany, which was the first German tryout ever, which I was like 4 day in Cologne, 2 days practice every day, and then like the biggest or one of the biggest TV production was also there taking like video and documentation and everything that was later released on German television. So it was like a big production and just felt like, oh, this is WWE, this is the biggest company in the world, kind of stuff. You know what I mean? They really mean it. And it also made the tryout feel so much important and so much, okay, we're here and we're doing something sick, we're doing something cool. So yeah, did that 4 day, and that mean I think on the last day there was like always a show in Cologne, and they called me and seven others to the back, and they were like, okay, you guys are like the eight, like the best of the eight, the best eight of this tryout. And if anything happens, we're gonna contact you guys. So in
Brilliant.
my head, I was like, oh, that's sick. That's already one step closer to the goal. You know what I mean? And then I was just waiting, and it didn't like again didn't take long. A month later, I got an email saying they want to call me over to NXT UK to like see what's going on. Like in my head, I did the tryout already in UK, right? In Germany, sorry. So I thought, okay, I'm going to NXT UK and I'm going to get signed. I'm going to get my deal and stuff. So that was my mindset already. So I went there. I did a 5 day training kind of stuff. And then at Takeover Blackpool,
Yeah, yeah.
I went and asked somebody from the office, okay, I've been here for 5 days. Where's my contract? And then he was like, oh, so you want to sign? I'm like, yeah, I thought that's where I came from. And they were like, oh, this was basically like a tryout stuff, but yeah, we got your contract ready and stuff. So I went already with the mindset like, oh, I'm getting signed, right? Like then I realized, oh, that was just basically again a tryout. So it was cool, you know what I mean? So everything just had to happen, and I think maybe to just like the confidence I had back then, or stupidity, or whatever you want to call it. I just was straightforward, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, exuberance of youth. I mean, like a lot of people would have, you hear kind of horror stories about WWE, particularly backstage, and kind of how if you say something that's misinterpreted, sometimes it's held against you. So to have the kind of gumption or the balls to kind of go say, "Hey, I'm over here 5 days, give me a contract," that's brilliant. And they obviously thought so highly of you. They didn't say, "Actually, fuck off." Actually, yes, here we do want you. Here's a contract. So no, it's
It
brilliant.
worked. I don't know.
No, but listen, at least it worked out. Then, so obviously, you did have success then throughout NXT UK. Obviously, it was an awkward time being COVID and whatnot, but like
Oh yeah.
you do have in your resume, you're an NXT Tag Team Champions. You won it with Ashton Smith before injury hit. So like, I suppose
Yeah.
what was that biggest, aside from obviously being that weird period of time, you're recording in a television studio in London.
Yeah.
Aside from that, being part of the WWE bubble, regardless of his COVID or not, like what did you find the biggest change, the hardest thing to acclimatize coming from the European indie scene at that stage?
Do you mean now for the COVID, or do you mean going to?
Just generally speaking, like in terms of prior to joining NXT UK, you're appearing across Europe and Switzerland and Germany and
Oh,
whatnot. Then you're joining NXT UK. I
okay,
understand you're in a
okay.
TV studio, but just manner of working or whatnot. How different was that for you?
Ah, it was very different because like obviously if you do the indie scenes, you have like I would say like a sense of freedom just because there's no times, there's not a TV production, there's no many no like no many eyes, and people are like obviously watching it. And I'm not talking only about fans, but also people like backstage,
Hmm.
and obviously important names that we all grew up with are watching it right now, and then they're giving you feedback and criticizing it. So you know who you have to impress. You're not only
Hmm.
impressing the fans, you're not only impressing your friends and family. Now you got to
Hmm.
impress the right people, the right bosses, all the people that you consider an icon, or
Yeah.
people you grew up like idolizing, right? So that made like all like given that extra pressure, but also gave you that
Hmm.
extra like I'm doing again something like meaningful,
Hmm.
something cool, something sick. Because how many times are you allowed to wrestle, perform, or
Hmm.
just show who you are to the people that you idolize? You know what I mean? And
Yeah. Yeah.
they're giving you feedback, and it doesn't matter if it was good or bad, because everything was a good, like at the end of the day, everything was a good feedback that's gonna make you better and grow anyways. So that
Yeah.
was like one of the biggest changes to learn TV wrestling,
Hmm.
opposite to indie wrestling, where like I said, you have a little bit more freedom, like times. not always matter. Not well, not everything you do really. It does matter, but it doesn't like affect the whole
Mm,
production and the whole show. You know what I mean? Because now you're not only just a wrestler, a sports entertainment superstar. You're a person of this whole
mm,
TV product for the 1 hour I think we had on NXT UK.
yeah,
So you have to like fulfill your role and fulfill your purpose and
yeah,
whatever happens with like I think one of the biggest things anyways besides the wrestling was any backstage interview or
mm,
backstage segments we did because now you have like I don't know 3 4 cameras on your head, one director and all that stuff, you know what I mean? So it's more like hands on.
yeah,
You have to like hit the bullet points and stuff like that. So that was like I never had
yeah.
any background in acting or anything like that. You know what I mean? Obviously, watching, you knew what's coming towards you,
Mm.
but then actually really living it and doing all that, that's like a whole different animal, a whole different beast.
Yeah, I can imagine. Did you enjoy that though? Did you enjoy that challenge of having to pivot from being like like a more free wrestler to suddenly have to be fulfill a role within a
Oh,
television program?
oh yeah, I liked it. I loved it. Sometimes,
Yeah.
like obviously, um, it's cool in the matter of fact thinking, okay, this is not what I'm doing. This is my job. This is who I am. That
Mm,
was cool, and I loved it. I enjoyed it. But I would say sometimes I wish I could have been more me, if that makes sense. But
yeah,
you're not always allowed to be more you.
yeah,
Sometimes it's not necessary. Sometimes they don't see it or they don't understand who you really are. So that was the only like the negative point where I was like,
yeah.
oh, I wish I could have just been more me because then I think I would have done it with a little bit more again, freedom or whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, at the same time, I suppose it's a huge learning curve, and it's another skill set that you probably wouldn't have had or exposure to now, so you can bring into wherever you're going next. So, like, obviously, off the back of that, then you kind of say as we roll into about 2022, you're then getting repackaged as Oro Mensah. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, it's brilliant to kind of being repackaged, becoming part of Meta 4. You're linking up with Noam Darcy, you probably knew from NXT UK, Lash Legend, Jakara Jackson. No, you all became absolutely iconic. And you said it was the most fun you've had in WWE, but like, how was that having to pivot from what you were in NXT UK, being kind of rebranded and given a new lick of paint, and suddenly have to start afresh in NXT? Like, how was that kind of challenge being having to come up with a new identity, a new persona, a new name, and everything? How was that challenge in itself?
It was a very big challenge because anyways, when I went to the States or when I came over to the States, I already knew I had to like change my name and stuff. So
Yeah.
I already pitched the name Oro Mensah. That came
Mm,
from me, and I wanted the name change because I just wanted to go away from Oliver Carter and stuff. And I still like the name Oro Mensah way more, just
yeah.
because I think it fits and suits me more. It sounds more
Mm,
artsy and stuff.
mm,
But the biggest change was obviously now because not too many people in the States watched NXT UK. They didn't
mm,
really know it was a thing, or they kind of knew, but they were not
mm,
like really following it.
mm,
So the thing was coming here thinking that not too many people will know who you are. So now you
mm,
have to reintroduce, rebrand yourself, and hopefully get the chance to reintroduce, rebrand yourself, which was
yeah.
back then. Now it's a little bit not easier, but now they're doing a little bit different job. But back then it was like, okay,
Mm,
you're a former champion. They should know you kind of deal. That's how it
yeah.
felt for me. Like they should know you.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, I'll just go out there and I can feel like nobody kind of know who I am and stuff. So the whole metaphor actually made it way easier because then we had the group, the transition. I could talk more, I could show more personality. And it
Mm,
was like you said, it was a more of a focus point on us and all four of us.
mm,
And it just that gave me the true exposure to show who I am and who I want to
yeah.
be. You know what I mean? That was like the first time, and that was after 8 9 months being here, just trying different things, just basically wrestling to let people know who I am. But it's hard to hear. Like maybe I would say the European scene, if you wrestle, they'll appreciate it more.
Mm,
But on the TV production, on the States, you just have to show some personality. I think
yeah.
so. You have to show who you are more
Yeah.
too. You know.
Yeah, and I think all of you succeeded that hugely in Metaphor. It was one of the kind of more fun parts of watching NXT of the last number of years. And there's parts of NXT television that haven't been enjoyable, particularly for somebody from this part of the world. But seeing you guys and the authentic one, as you kind of previously put it, like how it just comes across the screen and you get to see that personality come through. Did you have any much creative input into terms of what you guys were doing on screen? Was there any pitches you guys were able to bring to the NXT through and say that we want to do this week? We want to have fun backstage, or we want to do? Was there anything specifically that maybe people aren't aware of that you guys kind of brought
Uh
to the fore?
yeah, because I think that's what was maybe one of the cool thing about metaphor. I think like at first people were more like curious and thinking what's this exactly because it didn't like it didn't fit the people's mindset or
Yeah.
norm or whatever it was. And like the metaphor wasn't our four idea. We were just put together.
Yeah.
So and I don't really think all too many people thought it would have worked as good as it did.
Yeah.
So I think we surprised a lot of people like that. Again, one of the freedom stuff. You remember? You said you watched it. You remember all the segments we did for the Meta Lounge?
Yeah.
So that came to hand because they told us, okay, look, there's gonna be this Heritage Cup match
Yeah.
or tournament, and at No Mercy, Norm is gonna face whoever wins it, which was Pete Dunne.
Okay.
Then I remember I was with Norm just standing on the floor and it showed us the Meta Lounge. And I went to him and said, I think you'll be sick because I think we're gonna be here for 4 or 5 weeks, who knows? And then we're not gonna wrestle.
Yeah.
But people are gonna see us for X amount of time. And even if it's only 2 seconds, I think you'll be sick if we have every week a new team.
Yeah.
And he was like, how, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know. Like next week we do this team and then we do like I don't know, ice team. And then he was like, he just looked at me and he was like, oh, that would be sick. Maybe we do safari and stuff. So like I kind of told him, we talked about it, we told the girls, and then everybody just put the ideas in. And that's why we had, I think one of the coolest thing was actually the doing the team from week to week because people were just they cared about the tournament, but they also cared
Yeah.
about us. They wanted to see what we're doing every week. So I
Yeah.
think that was cool. I also think it was cool because when we pitched it up first, and people were like, "Oh yeah, that's cool. We can do it." And then they gave us a little bit, and then when we did the Matrix one, that's
Yeah.
when they went all in because they thought the Matrix one was probably so cool because it reminded them of I don't know their
Yeah.
own youthfulness. I don't know. So they gave us everything, and that was sick. That was fun. Like also the Halloween Havoc stuff we did with
Mm.
the haunted house, the Scooby Doo outfits. That was all us.
Awesome.
Mania. They told us, "Hey, we need you guys in different kind of outfits," and then we put it all together. And I think the biggest and the most fun thing we did at Mania or at Stand and Deliver was wearing the cowboy jersey in
Oh yeah.
Philadelphia. And actually, my wife was in the stands, and she told me when we came out, everybody was booing, and I just think that was like the funniest thing we ever did. You know what I mean? We just
Yeah.
came
Yeah.
out with the Cowboys, and I like that was Lash's idea because I don't know as much as
Yeah.
football.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
just said like Philadelphia hates Cowboys, so let's just wear the jerseys. I'm like, yeah, whatever, let's do it. And
No,
I
that
was
is, you guys like exuded like you're like just that fun and that authenticity, that kind of
like,
almost carefree attitude kind of came across
yeah,
the screen incredibly well. Whereas a lot of stuff you watch, I think American television, a lot of people look like they're worried about what they have to do next. Where you guys are just like seem to be living in the moment. It was absolutely brilliant. Like you achieved a huge amount outside of metaphor as well, though. So you had opportunities very much prominent across NXT television over the last number of years. Qualifier for the North American title ladder match. You've challenged for the NXT Championship. You brought like
yeah.
everywhere you went, you brought like a level of charisma as well as authenticity to what you were doing. So obviously, not everything works out in the world. But like, what are some of your proudest achievements, particularly when you're in WWE? And like, what's maybe is there anything specifically you wish had gone slightly differently in terms of a storyline or a match or whatnot?
Obviously, proudest moment would be winning the NXT UK Tag Team Championship
Yeah,
because who doesn't want to win a championship belt? Who doesn't want to win a championship belt in WWE? That was
yeah,
sick, especially with the whole storyline that we were chasing the thing for like a 1.5 year or something like that, and
yeah.
just like building up from also again a mixed match tag team to being like, okay, now we're a solid tag team to being like, oh, people now care about us even through COVID, and then we finally winning the thing. That was cool. That was just like a big, you know,
Yeah,
you guys really made it. Then getting signed and getting or being drafted over to the States, that was obviously a big milestone for me. And I'll just
yeah,
say like every championship opportunity I had was cool. Being part of Metaphor was the most fun I had, and challenging Ethan Page for the NXT Championship was is
mhm,
high on the ladder. The whole story we did there too. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Obviously, there were some things I wish would have been done differently. I had like a different mind where everything went because that's when I also started with the old Ethan Page stuff. I started to be the solo character I wanted to be,
hmm,
which was more like I'll be fun and everything, fun and games, but I'm more short
yeah,
fuse and stuff. That's why I was chasing them everywhere. So I was having fun doing that part because that was really who I am. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like I'll just do everything, and I was hoping that would transition afterwards too,
yeah,
because I had like other different ideas with because after that I wrestled Lexus King,
yeah,
so I had like different ideas. it started off great, me punching him in the barber shop, and I was hoping I could do like different stuff,
Yeah.
but I think they didn't like. Let's just say the stories were not meant for me.
Okay.
So
Okay.
now that was unfortunate. I wish I could have done more. I wish I could have like shown a little bit more because I think the crowd, especially the one in Orlando, they
Yeah.
were feeling me. They were feeling what I was doing. They were feeling the authenticity. Authenticity. I can't even say
Yeah.
the word.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know
No,
what I mean? They were
I
feeling
know
the
what you mean.
realness.
100%. I mean, I think you felt like as a fan watching from afar, like I'm living in Ireland where it's a completely different time zone, but I'd be watching quite regularly, say on my way to work on a Wednesday morning, and kind of seeing you kind of climb the ladder. I'd say you're interacting with Ethan Page on a weekly basis. You're getting into things with Lexis King, people who've got recognized name value on different television programs, and they've been brought in to almost elevate younger stars who don't have that same name recognition just yet. It felt like you're on the cusp of kicking on to something bigger, and it felt like you're going to
Yeah.
be part of that next wave of NXT talent. But in your own words, you called it this, but I would fully agree. When your release came in May of this year, a lot of people said it was bullshit. But like at the same time, it was a chance to move on. Like, what were you told at that time in terms of like just out of the blue? Was there any reasons given aside from saying obviously kind of budget cuts or whatever? Was there any specific logic or reasoning kind of given to you at that stage?
No reasoning. It was just a phone call.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just a phone call, 45 seconds. And that, because, you know, it's like in the bubble, you know what time it is. So
Yeah.
when I saw it, I knew already it was coming.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, it was bullshit. But at the end of the day, you can't like fight against it. If they give you the call, they give you the call. Somebody already already put the
Yeah.
hammer through. So what the
Yeah.
fuck do you want to do, right?
100%. I mean, at the same time, like it's rest. These things are entirely subjective. It's often not one person's opinion, whereas you've probably got 20 other people who maybe in a less senior position, you've got a completely different position. It doesn't mean one person's right or wrong. But also, given that your age profile, you're a very young man, you've got a huge upside. You've got a huge. Do you know what I mean? You've got a huge. The world's your oyster at the minute. I'm sure you've got a million and one people in the background asking for you to kind of appear on their television programs. So I've no doubt maybe things will come back around being WWE side or somewhere else. But I mean, you do have a huge amount on the horizon. Like you're back in the indie scene. You've got a match coming up in August in Blitzkrieg Pro. You're against Andy Brown. You're streaming
Yep.
regularly on Twitch. You've got dropping new merchandise constantly online. You've got a very vivid social media presence. You've got a lovely family and dog. Like
Oh yes.
what are your immediate like plans on the horizon for the rest of the summer and for the months ahead?
I'm just trying to be booked and busy, right? I just want to be everywhere. Actually, I just want to wrestle as much as possible. Just put my name out there.
Yeah,
Just still show why I'm the main man, you know.
yeah,
Most importantly, right now is just to provide for my wife and for my dog,
yeah,
just for my family. Just be the person I should be, I wish to be. I'm supposed to be, whatever you want to call it. I just want to
yeah.
be that. That's like my main goal is just to take care of my
Yeah.
wife and my dog right now.
Good man. Good man.
Myself, not so much. I'm wrestling, you know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
not even taking care of myself if I wrestle, so that doesn't matter.
Well, listen, I've no doubt you've got a number of amazing opportunities becoming on the horizon for you sooner rather than later, be it on television or independent wrestling or otherwise. But I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about this. You are very randomly a Chelsea Football Club fan.
That's not random. That's the best thing ever. What
Well,
the?
I'm from Glasgow, so I'm a Celtic fan. I thought you might be like an FC Basel or maybe somebody from Switzerland,
No,
young boys or something. Maybe no. How did
no.
you end up as a Chelsea fan?
Listen, if anything in Zurich, then it's only FC Zurich. If
Okay.
anything, that's the only thing you can support and should support. But first things first, Chelsea are the champions of the world for the next 4 years.
Yeah, all right.
That's very important. We've won it all.
Factually, yeah.
We've won it all, and it's very simple. Back then in 2000, and I think it was five.
Okay.
Michael Essien was signed by
Right.
Chelsea,
Yeah.
which was is my
Ghanaian,
favorite
yeah.
Kenyan player ever.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was like, wherever he goes, I go. Let's be a Chelsea fan. That's
Good man.
20 years.
That's 20
Faithful.
years. That's 2 years after Abramovich came in and all the money came in. So yeah.
Hey, I was 9 or 10 back then.
Yeah.
I don't know about this money stuff, so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can't
yeah.
put me on the money train. I didn't
I'm
know.
all, I'm all, I loved watching Chelsea then. So you had Essien, Makelele, Mikel, Lampard, Ballack, that kind of midfield three they used to play. Then three in front of it, Robin, Duff, Joe Cole, and a few other people they had up top. So yeah, listen, I love football, so I understand your language there. So listen, for just back onto the topic of wrestling because that's what we're somehow talking about generally. But in terms of people from this part of the world, like obviously you've had from your experience of starting off in the 2000s. You're wrestling across the European independent scene. You make it onto WWE television in two different brands, NXT UK and NXT. You're a featured part of both programs. You've been a champion. You've been put into pay-per-view positions where you're against top champions as well. What advice would you give to those people who are, say, here in Ireland or in the UK or whatnot, starting in their wrestling journey? And it's quite easy to get into an independent wrestling bubble. I've tried it myself in terms of you want to be the best in a certain scene, but what advice would you give somebody to kind of breaking out of that scene in terms of going to a next level?
It's obviously like you gotta stay focused 24/7. It's just like it has to be on your mind 24/7. You have
Okay.
to wrestle as much as possible because nothing beats reps, 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 reps.
Yeah.
Every match, every booking, everything you can take, just take it. Like that's the only way you can grow. The more match you do, the better you get, the more exposure you get. And like never lose like the vision, never lose the hope, never lose like the intention why you did it
Okay.
because that's the biggest motivator. Because
Hmm.
even if you think nobody is watching, I can tell you 100% that somebody is watching.
Yeah.
100%. I can tell you this because they told me that after my first tryout too, and they'll say it everywhere. And I'm not only talking about WWE.
Yeah.
There's so many companies right now who are watching wrestling who are looking for the next big person, whatever, or the next special person. That's why like
Okay.
nothing you do, I would say, is unnoticed. It doesn't matter where you're wrestling or where you think you're wrestling.
Hmm.
Somebody is watching. And
Yeah.
that's why already knowing that you're being watched should give you the motivation to keep on
Hmm.
going because you're not doing anything wrong. You're still wrestling.
Yeah.
Just get the reps in, be as good as possible, and just be a professional 24/7.
Brilliant. Brilliant. No, that's fantastic advice. Just to, before you kind of finish out here, I just want a couple of quick fire questions, if that's okay. So,
Yes.
Oro Mensah, what's your dream opponent, past or present?
Shelton Benjamin,
Shelton Benjamin, Makaleli or John Obi Mikel?
Makaleli.
Any wrestler you're currently watching in the independent scene or not on who's signed to a company that fans aren't aware of that you think will be huge in the future?
That's a good question. Let me go through all. It's a quick fire. Yes, Prince Ahura.
Okay. One thing WWE got wrong about you.
Ooh, not exposing my true personality more.
Okay. And where will you be in 12 months' time?
I think still wrestling and in a better place than I'm right now.
Excellent. No, listen, that was just a bit of fun at the end there. Just, thank you very, very much, or I really do appreciate your time. I'm an avid follower of your content, and watching you from afar over in this part of the world is really refreshing for a lot of people. I know wrestling's obviously going through a boom. I think wrestling schools across Europe are out the door busy, largely because of the success of WWE and people like you who've made a path ahead of them. So I really do appreciate your time, everything you've done in the space, and really looking forward to what you accomplish in the future.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you very much for the interview and thank you for having me. Thank you
No
for
problem.
all the interest. That's
No,
that's really cool. That's
what
really, really cool. Thank you so much.
No problem. Listen, I'll be posting stories and shorts and everything over the coming days, so I'll be making sure to tag at Mainman Moro on X and making sure people can follow you on Twitch as well.
Beautiful.
All right,
Thank you
take
so
care.
much.
Thank you.